Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q on this, the 3rd of June, 2025. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. I thought I was going to come on the air today and we were going to maybe touch base on what's going on in the world of the NFL. I thought maybe we would dive into some baseball and talk about the red hot Mets and the Yankees and their struggles and bullpen issues and the Phillies and what transpired between the Rockies and the Marlins. Maybe look at Stanley Cup Finals game 1, and then it drops maybe about 15 or so minutes ago. The hammer, if you will, the news that apparently is shocking the NBA world, but not this guy right here. The New York Knicks have, if you want to call it fired, you want to call it parting ways, however you slice and dice it, the New York Knicks have made a major change and shakeup. They fire Tom Thibodeau. And look, there's a lot of layers to peel back, and there's a lot to uncover and dive into with a move like this. And I don't, listen, when guys get fired, when coaches get fired, I know a lot of times there is this, I don't want to say, you don't tap dance on a guy, right? Especially if they were a good coach and they were a good guy. And I can say this right now. I think Tibbs is a good coach, and I think he seems to be a good guy. But I also believe a change needed to occur. I think a change needed to be done. Because a lot of times you will see in sports, the message is just not resonating anymore. And that can be a major problem. And you can talk about, a playoff drought and bringing back a franchise to credibility. And it's exactly what Thibodeau did. It's exactly what Tom Thibodeau did. But ultimately, and I go back and I said it at the time, and I got hammered for saying it on the air after the game 1 loss to the Indiana Pacers. I said, quote, if the Knicks go on to lose this series, it is a fireable offense. It is a fireable offense. And, sure thing, what happens? He gets fired today. Now, this wasn't a Dolan move. Leon Rose's fingerprints are all over this. All over this. You know it, and I know it. And I know people think this is a stunning move, right? I think people look at this and say, oh my God, this is a stunning move. This is a stunning move. I can't believe this transpired. I can't believe this happened. But I also believe it's not as shocking as you guys think. I just don't believe that. I don't believe it's as shocking as you guys think. I think it's a move that had to be done. I think that a new message had to be heard. And I believe that if the Knicks made a move like this, then they have a guy already in place. And look, credit where credit is due, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy that just surpassed Pat Riley, 4th all-time on the franchise list in victories, led the Knicks to back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since 95. Eastern Conference Finals, their deepest playoff run in 25 years, but ultimately didn't make adjustments. He didn't make adjustments, and that is ultimately what does you in as a head coach. If you can't adapt, if you can't overcome, if your message is not resonating with the players and it's falling on deaf ears, then guess what? It's time for a change. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. I mean, my phone has been nonstop. I can't believe it. I know you're a huge Knicks fan. Can you believe this? Can you believe it? No. I'm not shocked like you guys are. I'm not. Everyone seems to be absolutely floored and shocked by this move. I'm not. You had the issue last year with DiVincenzo. You've got Bridges talking about minutes. You had the issue with Hart talking about sacrifice. The game one collapse against the Indiana Pacers did them in. And I know again, listen, Leon Rose, contrary to popular other talking heads out there, you don't need to address the media at this moment. You don't. And this is not a Dolan issue. This is not James Dolan, because ultimately James Dolan was behind the Thomas and Phil Jackson mess. He's not that nosy guy or Onion anymore. This is all about Leon Jones, team president. You're talking about a high-profile agent, now executive team president, and he basically believes that at the end of the day, Tibbs was not the guy to lead them to a potential championship. And if he makes this move and the owner signs off on it, then like I said, and I know people are going to sit there and say, it's a terrible decision. It's a terrible decision. Why? Why? Why all of a sudden are it's again so terrible decisions? Because you don't agree with it? Or maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction? I mean, this is the world of sports. Do owners not have knee-jerk reactions? Do GMs not have knee-jerk reactions? Do players not have knee-jerk reactions? Sometimes you need a change, period. Period. And all you're going to hear, well, who are you going to bring? Jay Wright, Jay Wright. Listen, I mean, it's a pipe dream. In a perfect scenario, it'd be pretty fun and pretty cool to have a guy like Jay Wright coaching Knicks. Jay Wright has all those $1,000 suits. He looks good on camera. He's a handsome guy. He's got a great personality, charm, charisma. That's a nice job for Jay Wright. Talking hoops. Talking hoops. That's a really nice job for Jay Wright on TV, and he's under contract. You're not going to go after Eric Spoelstra. It's not going to happen. It's not. We can throw these certain names out there. We can throw all these names, and I got a list. And I know, again, it's shocking, terrible. There's so many names out there. There's so many names. And it's so funny. People will say, I can't stand this. I can't stand this. But go after a Jason Kidd. But try to get Eric Spoelstra, even though he signed a monster deal, which is ludicrous. Go after Dan Hurley. Go after Jay Wright. Go after Malone. Go after X, Y, and Z. You feel bad for Tibbs, but now all of a sudden it's, hey, but we know exactly who to go after. Like, to me, again, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, and it's foolish talk. It's absolutely foolish talk. Coaches get fired all the time. Coaches who have won get fired. Coaches who have taken teams deep into the playoffs and can't get over the hump get fired all the time. All the time. Let's not act, like we're going to stick Tibbs in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I thought at times, look, I understand it's very hard to coach in the NBA because it's a players' league and you got to deal with a lot of personalities. And I believed offensively watching this team, they had no identity. None. At all. And I can't sit here and be honest and say, well, it's only because they couldn't fit certain players, right? No one knew their role. Well, when the players don't understand their role, that is a major problem. When the players don't have any offensive identity, when they don't understand, where they need to be on the floor, yeah, you can certainly get on the players, but he never really held himself accountable. And Leon Rose is going to make a statement when Leon Rose feels like he's got to make a statement. Leon Rose is going to get in front of the camera when Leon Rose feels he's going to get in front of the camera. It's shocking in this regard. They're fresh off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. But what's shocking is that people are shocked by this, if that makes sense. They're shocked by this, if that makes sense, because it is the NBA, man. I mean, come on. The Denver Nuggets fired their GM and head coach 3 games left in the season, and they were a playoff team, and they were coming off winning a championship. And you guys want to act like Thibodeau is the next coming. I mean, let's be fair. Seriously, let's just be fair here. You can't have it both ways. You can't. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this team now, you know, they're ready to make a run. Off season, here we go. Are they going to get rid of Cat? They're going to go after Durant. They're going to go after Giannis. Are they going to try to move a couple players? What are they going to do at Hart? Are they going to try to get a legit point guard? They're going to add to the bench. They're going to work on getting another shooter. We can talk about that till the cows come home. The bottom line is ultimately in sports, if you don't win, sometimes a new voice is needed. And that's why I think that move today, the move today by the Knicks, it's not as shocking to me as it is to other people that have been nonstop blowing up my phone. Nonstop blowing up my phone. Because it's the NBA. And it's not a Dolan move, it's a Rose move. And when you talk about Tom Thibodeau, you also have to be fair with a couple things. You have to be fair with a couple things. You're talking about a team led by Thibodeau that's 24-23 in the postseason. That didn't cut it. It didn't cut it. And the fact that he never adjusted. Game one against the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton shot. It sealed Thibodeau's fate. It sealed Thibodeau's fate, period. Because as a head coach, you need to adjust. And you had a failure to adequately adjust to the Pacers' style of play, their pace. The fact that every time they were getting the rebounds, they were running up and down the floor court. Guys were not playing defense. Guys were not playing both ends of the floor. You get a layup, and then the Pacers come right back down the floor with a layup. That's unacceptable. The fact that Robinson wasn't in late for defensive purposes. The fact that, again, you maybe didn't go to Brunson when you needed to late in the game. He's not touching the basketball. He's still on the bench with 9 or 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Moments that you needed, you had to have. And I just think everything came to a head. Everything came to a head. And there's going to be a bunch of names out there. There's going to be a bunch of names out there that, it's a coveted job now. It's a coveted job. We always talk about these jobs in sports that are coveted jobs. Landing spots. Landing spots in the NBA. The Lakers, because it's the Lakers, right? I mean, who doesn't want that? The Boston Celtics. Why? Because it's the Boston Celtics. Teams that are maybe up and coming. Well, I got news for you. The Knicks, that's a landing spot. That's a major market. That's, a great franchise for the NBA. Now they're back to relevancy. Here you go. That's a great spot. And you got to find someone that's going to be able to handle the New York market, period. Period. And, is it going to be a retread? Is it going to be a sexy name? Is it going to be a name that maybe no one's thought of? Is it going to be an outside-the-box thinking? I believe a move like this tells me right off the bat that they have a name and they have an idea of who they want to bring in. And we'll see. And we'll see if it turns out to be the right move. That's the other thing. Like, nobody knows. Nobody knows because everything, there's always this waiting out and seeing how it plays out. So maybe they go and they grab, Coach A, and maybe it doesn't work out. Does that necessarily mean that the move to fire Thibodeau was not the right one? All right, 16 past 4 o'clock hour. A lot of NBA talk. I want to get into some baseball. NFL too, some off-season stuff. Kyle chiming in, texting in, and of course commenting, good riddance Tibbs. Listen, that is the sentiment to some Knicks fans today, believe it or not. That is a sentiment to some Knicks fans today. Some Knicks fans are just tired. Look, you have a coach that notoriously, what does he do? He's running these guys into the ground. And if you're not being held accountable, if you're not holding yourself accountable, more times than not, you're going to wind up out of a job. You're going to wind up out. And again, it's not, you have to remember, this these moves on the surface, they might not be the moves that you're comfortable with. They might not be the moves that, as a fan, you say to yourself, man, this had to be done, or this didn't have to be done. A lot of times moves are made because a team realizes we're just not going to get past a certain point. And the way the Eastern Conference is right now, the fact that, listen, and I'm seeing that the messages come in right away, and I'm going to get to them. And I know where you guys are going. How the hell can you turn around and fire a guy that just got you to the conference finals? But again, I give you the Denver Nuggets. Who the hell fires a coach on a playoff bound team with 3 games left in the season? And oh, by the way, that already won you a championship. I mean, seriously. This is, you're talking about a guy or 2 years removed, I should say, the Denver Nuggets that won in 2023. And then they had 3 games left this season in the regular season. And their head coach, Mike Malone, was fired along with their GM, Calvin Booth. So don't tell me, because Tibbs took a team that hasn't been in the Eastern Conference Finals in 20 plus years, 25 years, and they lose in 6 to Indiana in a series in which they should have won. They were up 20 and then 14 late in game 1, that he's not dispensable. You can't fire that guy. That's absurd. That is absurd. Come on, seriously. It's absurd. You guys sitting there saying, oh, you talked about it, in game 1 after they choked. You were so irrational about it. You were going off on it. You sounded like a jackass. You sounded like a clown. Really? How do I sound today? Because the Knicks decided it's time to move on from them. I mean, it does not make sense. It doesn't. And I'm telling you, the move to me makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is how you guys can sit there and think, oh my God, how do you fire this guy? When I just gave you the perfect example. Mike Malone and Calvin Booth both won a championship in Denver in 2023. They were both fired with 3 games left in a regular season. And they have more to their resume, more to the body of work than Tibbs does, because they won a championship. It's just, come on, guys. Come on, just stop already with the nonsense. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Javon chimes in. Mike Malone seems like the most logical target, but maybe the Knicks go with Taylor Jenkins. I've got a list for you guys. My guy, Michael chimes in. You called a Q, big time Knicks fan. I don't know how he feels about this move. I'd love to get his thoughts on how he feels about this move. I mean, I'm getting a lot of comments from Knicks fans. You guys are weighing in. Let me get to some of the message boards before we take a quick time out as well. What do we got here? Let me see. Brian chimes in. Crazy Rich, it's a big mistake, as we will see. And listen, I don't know. Do we know? Where is it written that this is a mistake? Where is it written that this is a mistake? Everything, it's just, you make a decision and you stand by it. And as I mentioned, Leon Rose had his hands on this. And Dolan backed it. But you can't lose that game 1. That game 1 sealed his fate. Any head coach, you choke up a lead like that, the fan base goes nuts. The players get frustrated. And the players are to blame too. Trash Talking Patty chimes in. Absolutely ridiculous. Only one team takes it all, and he gets the Knicks to the Eastern Conference playoffs and then finals, but he loses his job. Hate when owners let their emotions get in the way. But it's not. You guys are still. I understand what you're saying. I do. I understand exactly what you guys are saying, and I can appreciate what you're saying. And as I mentioned, I think Tibbs is a good head coach, right? But I also believe that if your message is falling flat, and we always talk about the NBA being a players' league, more times than not, who goes? It's the head coach. It's not the players. It's the head coach. It's not the players. D, chimes in over in Newcastle, not our other D. This is DEE in Newcastle chimes in. Q, 100% correct on the Denver Nuggets analogy. Yes, they won it a couple of years ago, but you don't fire head coach and GM late in the season with the team trying to make a run back to the playoffs and get to an NBA Finals. As you mentioned, I think the message wasn't being heard. I'm wondering if the players had a hand in this as well. You don't know. You don't know. And you talk about some of these lists, right? I mean, there's names. Michael Malone sounds like the logical choice, right? Because he wins a championship with Denver. He's a Queens native. He's got Knicks ties. He was an assistant coach with them in 2001. You look at his track record with Denver, right? I mean, you got the success with Joker. He won close to 500 games. It almost makes sense. Greg chimes in. Q, do you have any dark horses for the next head coaching gig? Here's one I'll give you. Chris Quinn, assistant head coach, Miami Heat under Spoelstra. Now, he's been considered for head coaching jobs, right? Cavs, Bucks, Jazz. He's a former NBA player, player development, and you got that culture, Spoelstra's culture, and that's the reason that he has that monster contract in Miami, is it not? I like it. Indiana is super deep. Knicks were trying to figure out their bench out in the series, which was way too late, and that pretty much crushed them. Right? Wait, what? I just got off work, out of the loop. Q, are you okay? I'm fine. Yeah, if you're just joining in, Vince, Knicks fired Tibbs. I'm fine. Which I said after game one loss against Indiana, which you guys came on the air. You guys commented in, texted me, got me on TikTok. Oh my God, the Knicks fans on TikTok were hammering me. I can't wait to post this little clip out there. I cannot wait to post this little clip out there. You guys were saying, shut up, jackass, clown, you know what the hell you're talking about. You're overreacting, sensitive Susie, negative Nelly, a mush Maddie, whatever. And here we are. That's all. Here we are. Because you have to read the room sometimes. You have to. And I'm not, look, I don't have the resources and the insight like some of these guys do. I'm not Shams. I don't have these connections. I'm not connected like these guys are. It's why they make the big bucks. I can only sit back, do what I do behind the mic, and as a fan sometimes, and read the room. And you do it long enough, and you cover teams long enough, and you understand sports long enough, sometimes you got to just weed through all the crap. You have to just weed through all the semantics and the X's and O's. And owners and GMs, when they lose and they blow games and the fans start to come out and they're attacking players and they're attacking coaches, more times than not, depending upon the sport, the coach is the one to get the axe, not the players. And the NBA is a perfect example of that. The NBA is run by the players, not the coaches. Not the coaches. Anytime you hear of a disgruntled player, there's maybe one or two, of these moves we talk about, one or two trades, one or two players or scenarios or situations where the team decides we're moving on from the player. But 99.9% of the time, the head coach is the guy that gets his head cut off. That's just how it is in the NBA. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, are Brunson's comments passive aggressive? The frustration we were talking about, the frustration with Cat. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Tibbs was a little more pressed or pressured to have him at times come off the bench, or Robinson to start. Or as Michael pointed out brilliantly, the lack of adjustments. It was too late. You can't push the pace against Indiana. Sticking to Hart too long, and then Hart coming off the bench, and then Hart's comments, and then McBride's comments. Or Bridges' comments, I'm sorry, about minutes. And then last year with DiFincenzo and some of those issues. So sometimes coaches rub players the wrong way. And the old school sentiment is going to be they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. They need to suck it up. That's fine. I'm sure they are sucking it up because they're making all that money. And they're probably just grinning. But ultimately, once you start to see leaks and once there are cracks in the foundation, when there are cracks in the foundation and it starts to leak out and you get somewhere you haven't been in 25 years and every talking head is sitting there saying Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6, and you're up late, at home, game one, Eastern Conference Finals, and you blow that lead the way you do, and the head coach doesn't take responsibility, he really didn't. He really didn't hold himself accountable. That pisses off any team president, any GM, any owner. I equate it to the NFL when you're losing games in November, December, and the owner has to look in the stands and he sees that the visitors are coming in, they're taking over the home stadium because you're a bad team. Coaches get fired. Coaches get fired. Now, obviously, this is an apples and orange kind of analogy because of the success that the Knicks had this year, right? And I get what you're saying, Michael. I know. Look, hey man, listen, we know. Listen, we I'll stick my chest out on this one, but we know. We're playing chess and they're playing checkers. And I get where you're coming from. I appreciate it. But this is what happens. It's a players' league. You know it and I know it. And no one's saying everyone's you know what's funny? Everyone's saying, I can't believe they fired Thibodeau. He led the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I just gave you a guy that's 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship, and then with 3 games left in the season, just got fired, and his team was playoff bound. Hello? I mean, come on. You guys are making this guy is, he's not Dr. James Naismith. He's a good coach. He'll land on his feet. He'll get a gig. He'll get a job. He's a good coach. But it was time for a change. It was time for a change. You've got to have repercussions after you lose that type of game. And again, I understand Leon Rose, you can get on him as well, right? Because you had a defensive-minded coach, but you really don't have defensive wings. Again. And maybe now you look at the move for Cat, and maybe it wasn't the best move for the team. And I'm not going to sit here like some people who were blasting him again yesterday, right? Talking about Cat being a losing player. I'm not saying that. I can sit there and say a player's soft, maybe doesn't get back on defense, maybe should not worry about not getting the calls, but I'm not going to suggest, a player's a loser. Maybe a guy just never had a chance to win, right, at the end of the day. And, we tag that with quarterbacks, right? We tag that with quarterbacks because that's how it is in the NFL. Man, I'm not sitting here blaming you at all. You did pick the Knicks in 5. And by the way, the Death Star Mike has nothing to do with this because, quite frankly, I'm okay with the move today. I'm okay with the move. I really am. I'm not like 1,000 other people going on, TV, going on their pods, going on the radio, going on their streams saying, oh my God, I can't friggin' believe this. How the hell can you do it? Again, peel back the curtain. Read the friggin' room. It was that game 1 loss. It was that game 1 loss. That's it. I mean, you can sit there, you can keep trying to rationalize it all you want. You don't lose that game in the Eastern Conference Finals against a team that's inferior to you. You just don't. And then to add insult to injury, he never made adjustments the rest of the finals. He just didn't. He didn't. And I don't know if it's going to be Malone. I don't know if it's going to be Van Gundy. They have a name. They have a guy pretty much, on top of their list. They have to. You make a move like this, you have to have a guy. You have to. That's all. Everyone is. Everyone is. Oh my God. Russo's going nuts. I don't know what Francesa is about to say. Stephen A. Oh my God. Leon Rose got to get out in front of this. What a cowardly act. Again, everyone's like shocked by this. I don't know. Like, am I missing something? Am I missing something? It's not like this guy was a juggernaut in the playoffs for the Knicks. He's 24-23. He wasn't 30-6, 30-7. He was 24-23, and it didn't cut it. The knock on him, you're running these guys into the ground. They're playing too many minutes. This is why they're banged up. This is why they're hurt. This is why they're exhausted. This is why they're tired. This is why they're not getting back on defense. Everyone's acting like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I mean, stop. Stop. Teddy Ballgame chiming in. Agree with you, brother. Not shocked at all. Nor am I. He will be fine. He will be fine. There you go. You lose these games and you're, quote, out coached, right? So when you're out coached and you're choking up leads and you're not making adjustments, do you deserve to keep your job? Why? Because you took me somewhere I haven't been? I mean, is that where it's at? Because go back, I'll say it one more time, to any sport. This argument that, well, let me ask you guys. The NFL, you got your coordinators, your offense coordinators, your defensive coordinators, right? And obviously in baseball, hockey, you got to make those adjustments. You got to ride the hot goaltender. You got to have good lineup changes. In baseball, you got to know when to go to the pen, when to pull the starter, when to turn around and get that lefty right, whatever kind of, matchup you want to get. But in the NBA, can't we all agree? There's this sentiment that people say you don't need coaching in the NBA because it's a players' league. Now, I don't agree with that. I believe it's a players' league, but you still need coaching. You still need, perfect example for Sixers fans out there who are listening in, and you know exactly where I'm going with this. Not even the Brett Brown. You can go back to the Doc Rivers. I mean, how many times would you watch Brett Brown on the sideline talk about stall hunting, or Doc Rivers and they're up 3-1 in a series, or Brett Brown up 2-0 in a series, or up 2-0 or 2-1 in a series, and it's late in the fourth or late in the third, and all of a sudden you take that ill-advised timeout. You don't know when to stop the run. You don't know when to let the players keep going. You don't know how to prevent a run. You don't know how to jumpstart a run. You don't understand matchups and lineups and when to hold guys accountable. He never held Embiid accountable, ever, ever. And neither did Rivers. But everyone wants to revert to Rivers and Celtics and the Clippers. You know who these guys are after a while. They're not winning head coaches. They'll get you to a certain spot, and that's it. And that's it. It doesn't make them a bad guy. It doesn't make them bad character guys. It doesn't make them unlikable. They can only take you so far. And now you need someone to get you over the hump. You need someone now. All right, do I believe I have the pieces in place? And it's different when you start to inherit it teams. You can't sit there and just boom, here you go, Golden State Warriors. Or here you go, boom, Miami Heat or Boston Celtics or even Denver to that extent. Who, oh, by the way, just to remind people tuning in that think I'm being way too harsh and critical, fired a head coach that's 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship and just got fired with 3 games left in the regular season, and their team was playoff bound. And their team arguably has one of the top 2 or 3 players in the game. And their GM was fired too. Why? Because there's a disconnect. And maybe the players weren't responding. That's the NBA. That's just the NBA. That's all. This is not, again, it's just not something that you have to just make adjustments. You have to. You have to. You have to make it. You have to have confidence in your bench. You have to. Always, these guys, do you know how many minutes they were logging a night? And oh, yeah, the minutes police come out. Hey, I was one of these guys. But when it starts to affect your lineup and your starters and how guys are playing and how they're performing, that is a problem. This guy never, ever, ever trusted his bench. Never. Look, the Bridges, it's a debacle. You gave up way too much. Karl Anthony Towns, I think the verdict is still out. I'm not a huge Towns fan. I told you this. Robinson is a nice player. He gives you energy. He's not going to give you 15 to 20, but he's going to give you probably 7 to 8, a couple fouls and a couple rebounds and the energy that you need. And then your primary player, the face of the franchise, he doesn't, Jalen Brunson doesn't get a pass. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Jalen Brunson is a great player. But Jalen Brunson also was 8 of 18 in 35 minutes for what did he have? 18 points? And all I kept hearing are, 18 points in a game 6. In an elimination game. In an elimination game. I mean, listen, you're supposed to be Mr. Clutch, the best player. No one's saying go out and give you 40, but can you give me something? turnovers, not playing defense, bad turnovers, crying every time you don't get the call and you don't get the foul. 8 of 18, 9 of 19, 6 of 18. So, yeah, the player also has to take the hit, but it always falls on the head coach. It always falls on the head coach. All right, 36 past 4 o'clock hour. Just cranking up on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Keep it locked in. Get social with me. We are 4 to 6 every Monday to Friday. Powered by our good friends over at Trix 57. Also, fresh roasted coffee. 20% off. Right here, baby. Little cafe con leche on a Tuesday. 20% off your first purchase. We do that part of our gambling portion of the show, BYP20. And that'll give you some savings as well. Get social with me at Rich Q on X and IG, and on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Keep it locked into the YouTube channel. We'll get to more of your comments. A lot of messages coming in on Facebook as well on X. I want to read them off for you new time listeners. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. Keep the comments coming. We're going to break them down on the other side. I also want to get into some NFL today. I'll pose out this question, and we'll dive into this a little more. We'll close out the Tibbs, the NBA talk, 5 o'clock hour, little NFL. Going to give you a little teaser. By the way, horrible last night for the Q Factor. I mean, just god awful. I'm looking at it right here. This is just, this is a fireball offense right here. I mean, not one winner last night, right? I mean, you can't. What are we doing here? Boston over the Angels? Nope. Angels win 7-6. Trout shoves it right back at me. Well, the Mets beat the Dodgers, so that's kind of one of the factors. But I had Alonso 1.5 base hits. Nope, he went 0 for. And then, of course, we said, hey, how about those Reds in the pitching matchup over the Brewers? Yet the Brewers win that one 3-2. So 0 for 3 fireball fence. We can talk about it as well. We'll give you the picks in the 5 o'clock hour. But I want to get into some NFL too, but I want to get to more of your comments on the other side. Keep it locked in. As I mentioned, we have a very busy Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Quick time out. We will come back on the other side. All right, back in the saddle, right here on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. We will get to more of your comments. As always, you guys can chime in. Good stuff on the NBA. If you guys are just tuning in, the news of the day, the Knicks have fired or, quote, relieved Tom Thibodeau. Again, not a shock, not a surprise to me. I said it after game one, it was a fireable offense. Said it after game one, got hammered, and here we are. Let's see what we got here. Jovan chiming in. People forget David Blatt got fired after taking the Cavs to the finals and then being 30-11 the next season. That is a very good pull. That was shocking, Jovan says the Madman, who's always good for a little passive-aggressive comment. Let me see. Towns reminds me of the way Dog from Mount Laurel played. Very sassy. Oh. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, I don't know where the bunker boys are today. No one knows in hiding, huh? No one knows. They're absolutely in hiding on this very busy Tuesday. Let me get to some Facebook comments and see what the guys are saying. NFL, by the way, in the 5 o'clock hour, so do not go anywhere. Let's see. Brian chimes in. It's only a good move to hire someone that gets them back there. Yeah, I mean, again, it's got to be done. It has to be done. Sometimes you just need a new voice, a new message. A new message, that's all. And just whether you like it or not. Now, the Knicks gave Thibodeau a 3-year contract extension through 2027, 2028. That guarantees him 35 or 30 million. So they're going to have to pay that out as a buyout before the extension kicks in. It's just, I don't know. What do we got here? I'm not as shocked as you guys are. I'm really not. Tom in Summers Point chimes in, Q, I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm a Sixers fan, but I would kill to have a guy like Thibodeau. That's your opinion. That's fine. That's your opinion. I'm not going to sit here and tell you on a Tuesday that it was the worst move of all time. I mean, I was happy they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I thought they played above themselves. They caught some breaks too. You have to call it the way you see it. Jason Tatum goes down. Are they beating the Boston Celtics at full strength? Now, granted, they came from behind twice on the road, down 20. You have to give them, the coach does deserve credit for that because you got to keep them up. You got to keep them up. So in that regard, yeah, there's credit to be involved. But I think what people are doing, and this is just me, and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it as well. We get very, very emotional with our sports teams. After great wins, we are probably not as pragmatic. And then after bad losses, we're probably too reactionary. I.e., case in point, me after the game one loss. But I'm telling you, I went back and I listened to that show. I was dead on serious because in my gut, I knew when they choked that game away because I know exactly what the Knicks are. I've been following the Knicks. I've been a Knicks fan for my whole life. I've seen horrible losses. I've seen disappointing collapses and choke jobs. I've seen it with a lot of my sports teams, to be quite honest. And nothing shocks me. Nothing surprises me. After that loss, I text my buddy who's a big Knicks fan as well. And I said, this series is over. I said, this coach is going to get fired. And he's a big Knicks fan. He's like, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. Look at the run they're having. It's improbable. Here we go. Just let it ride out. Long season. In my gut, I felt they were never going to recover. Now, if they got this series to 7 and they lost at home, I think it makes today's decision, you justify it even more, but I'm okay with the decision is my point. Sometimes you need, listen, Chip Kelly, here's another example, and I know I'm going football right now for you Eagles fans. And I said it at the time when the Philadelphia Eagles hired Chip Kelly. I was on the air down here, and I'll never forget, and I got hammered for saying it as well, I didn't feel Chip Kelly would coach in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. I didn't. I did not believe that he was a guy that would hang around that long. And now this is a guy that took the Eagles to the playoffs. But remember that following year, because he was so arrogant and so unlikable, and they had those bad losses to Detroit and Miami and Tampa Bay, it was time to make a change. It was time to make a change. Now, did Chip Kelly bring the Eagles back to prominence? No, because Andy Reid did that. Andy Reid did that. Did Thibodeau bring the Knicks back to prominence and relevancy? Yes. And thank you for that. Thank you for that. But it's not like you came in 1 year and you did it. You progressively got better, and they started to get better, and you never have to worry about filling that arena. And here we go. But the playoff failures, that sticks with me. The playoff failures stick with me. And you're talking about now the front office turned around, and they sent not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 first-round picks to Brooklyn for Bridges before they dealt Randall and DiVincenzo. I liked those two. I thought DiVincenzo added a type of edge and fight, and Randall. Randall, even when he was hurt, he gave you honest minutes. He tried. He played both ends. I was a Julius Randle fan. And Karl-Anthony Towns, did I watch Karl-Anthony Towns? He's a New Jersey guy. Sure. I tuned in. I watched Minnesota, but I kind of knew what he was. They just never added the depth. They never got the wing defender. They never added really legit perimeter shooters and a true guard. Brunson's got to play off the ball and create a shot. He's not bringing up the ball on the floor every time. He's not. So you got to cater around. You got to move around. You got to make adjustments. 579 career winning percentage is really good. You're almost winning 600 games. That's not bad. But 579, highest by any coach without a finals appearance in NBA history. You got to do more. That's all I'm saying. You have to do more, especially when you're that close. I don't mess around with the beats. You guys know that. Bunker Boy decides to chime in. Knicks will be stuck in mediocrity until they land a generational talent. No coach can save them. Seriously? Are we going with jackass comments already at what? 4:48 on a friggin' Tuesday, Trevor? Mediocrity? They just made the Eastern Conference Finals. Let me guess, you're a Sixers fan? Right? Oh, my goodness. The Eastern Conference is wide open. So my point is, you don't need a Thibodeau to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. You don't. It's wide open. But don't say mediocrity. That's absurd. The Sixers. Are the Sixers? The Sixers are considered mediocrity. The Sixers are considered a laughing stock. I don't want to hear, I'm getting these guys Facebook and these tweeting and saying, this is why the Knicks are a laughing stock. How is that possible? You guys are so uberly sensitive. So when they hire Mike Malone and they win 55 games next year and go to the NBA Finals, what are you going to say then? The Knicks are operating in a championship window, period. Stunning the league is Denver firing Malone before the friggin' playoffs. That's stunning. You fire a head coach that won you a title 2 years ago, that amassed a franchise record 471 wins, that was getting back to the playoffs, that has arguably the best player in the game. And by the way, this is a Queens guy. He's a Queens guy. That's all I'm saying. Knicks assistant, Queens guy. It just makes sense. It does. It just makes sense. Bobby D chiming in from South Philly. Q, I heard you mention Jay Wright. Laugh out loud. Were you really serious about that? No, listen, I've always had an affinity for Jay Wright. I think Jay Wright is a fantastic head coach. I really do. And I think people want to throw Jay Wright's name out there because of what? The Nova connection, right? The ties. Jay Wright has a great, great job. He has a great job. Like I said, he's well dressed. He's well groomed. He presents himself well. He makes a lot of money. He's got the sharpest friggin' suits in the business. So yeah, fans would love a guy like Jay Wright. Why? Because okay, you're going to reunite with who? Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. Here we go. Here we go. And I'll say this. Um, I just he loves his TV gig, man. And he's so good at it. And you want to know something else? For guys that are saying Jay Wright, Jay Wright, Jay Wright. He's 63. He doesn't look his age. He's having a blast, and that job is low stress and it's high paying. Why the hell would he want to leave it? Honestly, we know he's a winner. We know he's a winning coach. We know that. The other thing that no one has pointed out, and I want to get to a couple comments right here. Matt in Wilmington, big time Knicks fan, chimes in. Q, I'm absolutely floored that you're not going off on this move. It's laughable how this franchise is. I can't believe you're actually backing this. You're killing your credibility as a Knicks fan and a sports talk show host. This is absolutely absurd. This is friggin' clown talk on a Tuesday, Q. You have to do better. And now you're bringing up Jay Wright. Oh, like Matt, tell me how you really feel. I mean, I'm not bringing up Jay Wright. I'm making cases why it's never going to happen. And this is something that hasn't been brought up. Do you think Jay Wright wants to take a job where he's going to jeopardize his legacy and relationship with those three players that I mentioned, Brunson, Hart, and Bridges, if it went poorly in New York? There's no upside in taking the job for Jay Wright. This guy's won in college. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's a great analyst. He's a great, he adds unbelievable value, insight on these broadcasts on CBS and March Madness in these games. He's fantastic at what he does, and he can do it for the next 10 plus years and never break a sweat, never get aggravated, never get a gray hair, never worry about getting fired. He's not leaving the table, the broadcast booth. He's not. It's a definitive no. So, Matt, you're sitting there telling me that it's clown talk on a friggin' Tuesday. What the hell are you tuning in for? Why? Because you used to listen to me in Delaware? Yeah, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, but I'm not allowed to be opinionated about this. You guys are making it out to see this head coach has won 5 NBA friggin' titles. Seriously. You're making it out to be like Tom Thibodeau is the next coming. Just stop already. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself with that. X-Man chimes in. Hope Dolan doesn't revert to late 2000s Dolan. Not happening. It's not. It's not. He's not going to be that guy. Trust me, he's not. The Knicks are not on the verge of making a run. Celtics healthy. Knicks are in Cancun in 2 weeks. Celtics aren't healthy. They just lost their best friggin' player, Trevor. Trevor, worry about the friggin' Eagles. Seriously. Worry about taking a, step back. There you go. You want you guys just love to see him come out and just absolutely attack me, right? Just unbelievable. I mean, that's you guys get uberly sensitive. Like when I go off on the teams, it's too much. I can't win. I can't win. I can't win. And I'm not, there's no getting rattled. Matty used to listen to me on 1290 The Ticket. We used to go back and forth. But he's getting mad at you. That's fine. I don't have a problem. Call me clown. That's fine. Say I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I did come on the air after game 1 and say he's pretty much done if they lose the series. He's like Omar and Scarface. He's fertilizer now. I'm just saying. What do we got here? KC chiming in, tunes in periodically. Q, vintage Q, there you go, going off the rails. What else is new? I did used to listen to you on 1290 Ticket. Residing now over in Elkton, I think that's what he said. Is there an Elkton, Maryland? You guys have to check for me. But anyway, loving the NBA talk. What's your thoughts on the finals? I'm not even going to watch. Is it Elkton? Is that an Elkton, Maryland? We had to go to the map the other day, right? Where the hell is that? Somebody find out for me, will you? That's far. I mean, obviously you get me online. Maybe I misunderstood. Is there an Elk, Maryland? I know elks are not found in Maryland. I don't know. I'm going to need someone with the geography to help me out here. with that nonsense? If you can, just comment back. What part of Maryland? I don't know. I know. Is there a Chevy Chase, Maryland? Right? Isn't that a designated place outside of Maryland? Because when I drive down to do the fights, I always see Chevy Chase, and I kind of chuckle. I'll have a steak sandwich with a steak sandwich, if you know that reference. Let me see. Only thing Eagles are stepping on is the throats of their opponents. Eagles are taking a step back. If you listen into the show, don't let the MSG. Here you go. Elkton is north. Elk Ridge is near B Mall, Baltimore. Okay, thank you, Elkton. So that is true. That is true. All right, thank you. I wasn't sure. Chevy Chase is when I'm going down 95. I know it's on the right, and then you have what's that stop? What is that? Cheesequake? Is it Cheesequake? I don't know. Or is that Cheesecake Factory? Cheesequake off 95. I don't know. I'm just going by what I'm told, to be quite honest with you. Let me see. I get a couple more Knicks fans here crying. This is ridiculous. Oh, my goodness. Here we go. Davey D. Davey D is a fanatical Knicks fan in North Jersey. I think he's right outside. I think he went to St. Anthony's. But anyway, Q, here you go again. You're just tap dancing on the coach's grave. You did it after Tom Coughlin left. See, that's where I have to stop. Wow. I mean, if you recall, I went on the air after Coughlin got fired and pushed out, and I slammed Mara. Listen, Davey D, I know you're upset today. I know you're a little sensitive. But again, take a step back, walk it back a little bit. If the Knicks go and get Malone and they make it to the NBA Finals and they win a championship next year, no one's talking about June 3rd, 2025, how the Knicks did Tom Thibodeau dirty. Just enough is enough. That's all. All right, fast approaching 5 o'clock hour. I'll get to more comments as well. On the other side, I want to get into a little NFL on this Tuesday, and I want to take it in this direction today, and I'll throw it out right now. Which NFL teams won the offseason? I want to get into a couple different storylines with the NFL. I've got a list of some of these teams as well. We'll continue with the overs and unders and the win totals, but I want to start to get into that NFL field. Lloyd Vance is going to join us later on in the week. I requested that he wear his hat too. Costco and college football. I want to get into that. That June 1st has passed with Belichick. I got some thoughts on Belichick before we get out of here. We're fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour. 60 in the books, 60 to play with on a very busy Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. We are powered by our good friends over at Tri-X 57. Don't forget, fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase. Check out the promo code BYP20. And 5 o'clock hour brought to you by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports 2. Remember? 2, Utah. Give me 2. 2 new locations. Of course, the second in Mount Laurel and Deptford, New Jersey as well. 1450 Clements Bridge Road. They will buy your sports equipment. They'll give you top dollar. They'll pay cash right on the spot. They'll take gift certificates. They'll take gift cards. Open 7 days a week. PlayItAgainSports.com. You /Deptford. You /Mount Laurel as well. A lot more comments coming in on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on X. But again, question of the day, which NFL teams won the offseason and why? We got 50 to play with on this very busy edition, on a Tuesday edition of Middays with You. We will take you up to 6 o'clock as always. Keep it locked in. You guys are fantastic. Keep the comments coming. We're always having fun. We never take it personal. Troll away, heckle away, and come at me. We're ready for it. We got the fresh roasted coffee. We got 60 in the books. Another hour, top of the hour, 5 o'clock on the East Coast. We'll come back on the other side. All right, welcome back on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. You guys like bumper music, don't you? Should be one of those late night DJs, right? We're taking your request on the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau on soft hip hop. All right, question of the day. Which NFL team won the off season? I'm not even going to get again to half of this. It's just a matter of time. Oh man, this is what this is why I need Angel back. This is why I need Angel because he can actually get me good music. Too much, too much. All right, NFL talk. Drink. Now, how would you know? Seriously, how would you know? That's all we're saying. We're just not even that. Oh my goodness. Where I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's a that's a good one today, man. All right. NFL teams that have won the off season. I've got a couple teams. I've got a couple teams that now you can actually break this down any way you want. I'm sorry. That was that was very good by the man. He's usually good for a joke, but that one was actually better. All right, so which teams NFL offseason? Give me your players, give me your winners. Forget about the losers, just give me your winners. I got a couple I'll throw out right now. You guys tell me what you think. Now, I still maintain the 4 or 5 teams that we've talked about, right? The 4 or 5 teams that we've kind of talked about. By the way, the 49ers and the Eagles, that Bryce Huff deal is done. I don't know how all of a sudden we're going to start grading trades, right? I mean, Bryce Huff is back with Robert Salah, who's the defensive coordinator now with the 49ers. Obviously, he was head coach of the Jets. Jets drafted Huff coming out of college. I mean, it's depth. That's all it is. It's depth. And they had to maneuver a little bit of the money. And here you go. Right? And here you go. So let me see what we have here. Joe chiming in, Q. Believe it or not, I think Pittsburgh actually won the offseason. Laugh out loud. They don't have a quarterback, but yet they didn't sign Aaron Rodgers. Huh, I knew I'd get you on that one. Pittsburgh has not had a very good offseason because, they're still waiting to see the other shoe to drop with Aaron Rodgers. Matt G chimes in, Q. It's got to be my Jets. I think there's more of an upside for Fields than you're giving credit to. I actually mentioned that the Fields move, if the Jets can milk the best, right? If Fields has a ceiling, and we believe he's got a ceiling, then that is a low risk, high reward type of move for the New York Jets, 100%. And apparently the kid's doing really well in OTAs, but as I mentioned, don't get too caught up on that. Don't get too caught up on that because sometimes you're going 7-7. Now I get it, first team reps, but some of these guys are going to be bagging groceries very soon. So I would not get all giddy on how these quarterbacks, I mean, how even Russell Wilson, they're talking about Russell Wilson bringing a lot of energy and a connection already with neighbors. The Giants are still going to stink. And I told you, I kind of stand by that. I'm not wavering off of that at all. What do we got here? Chiefs did well in free agency. Is it enough though? Right? When we're talking off-season winners and losers, you're talking. Typically, what happens is we're looking at, I don't know, 5 or 6 teams, and obviously you're connecting. What you're going to do is you're going to connect the big time move, right? And more times than not, it's going to be a move for, say, a quarterback. So if you look at all these off-season moves by all these teams in the NFL. We know, look, I mean, what did Buffalo do? So Buffalo gave Josh Allen a new deal. They signed a running back. They signed two running backs. They went after a wide receiver. They re-signed a couple guys. They brought in an edge rusher, right? They made moves to solidify their defense. Miami, they had to go and get a backup, so they did that. New England had to go and get a backup. They signed Stephon Diggs, right? They signed Hollins to, I think, a 2-year deal. They signed a tight end. I'm kind of looking at, like, to me, I think the Jets signing Justin Fields, it's a low risk, high reward move. It's a 2-year contract. It's $40 million, and he's a relatively young player. They signed a couple wide receivers, Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds. They worked on the defensive side of the ball. We'll go to the NFC East because that's what you guys are the most familiar with. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, look at their moves. Miles Sanders, does that blow you away? Javonte Williams, does that blow you away? George Pickens, which was acquired in a trade with the Steelers, does that blow you away? Paris Campbell, does that blow you away, right? Does it make the Cowboys enough to be some type of a contender in the NFC East? The Giants signed Winston. They signed Russell Wilson. They signed Zach Pascal. They re-signed Darius Slayton. They made moves. They drafted a quarterback. They drafted a big time defensive player, an edge rusher, a guy that they know can, wreak and wreak havoc on the game. Is that going to make them a more competitive team? The Eagles went out and they gave Saquon a 2-year contract extension. I mean, think about that. That might have been one of the best moves in the offseason because now you've locked in arguably the best running back at this moment with a very good offensive line coming off a Super Bowl win. I think Washington had a very good offseason. They signed a backup quarterback, right? They re-signed Mariota. They signed Josh Johnson. They went out and they made the move for Debo. They signed Michael Gallup, right? They re-signed Noah Brown. They signed tight ends. They got Zach Ertz. They re-signed him for 1-year deal. They also turned around and got Tunsil. They traded with the Texans. I think Washington had a really good offseason. It's one of the reasons I think Washington is going to be a very good team this year. I don't believe Washington takes any type of step back. I really don't. I think Washington is going to give the Philadelphia Eagles fits. And I know people are sitting there saying, well, it's your giant bias and then your hatred of the Eagles. I told you this last week. The Eagles are built to get back to the Super Bowl. That is a fact. That's a fact. I mean, they've got all the horses in place, and we've already seen what they can do to the best of the best. They annihilated the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl. That game was not even remotely competitive. And you're going to tell me that they don't have the talent, the depth to make another run coming out of the NFC? It's ludicrous. They are the team to beat. And sometimes your best offseason moves are just bringing back the core, the nucleus. Just bringing back the guys that are your bread and butter. And that's what they did. They gave Sirianni a contract extension. They re-signed Johnson. They re-signed Saquon. They had a decent draft. They always do because Howie's a genius in that regard. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are one of those teams that won the offseason. I really do. And you'll look at some of these other teams around the NFL that had to go after and get quarterbacks. Right? I mean, how many teams were going quarterback hunting? How many teams were going quarterback hunting? If you think about all these moves from all these teams, the Jets signed Justin Fields. Daniel Jones signed with the Colts. Quarterback. You want me to keep going? Mac Jones, backup right now, right? From the Jaguars, unrestricted free agent. Now San Francisco. The Chargers made a nice move. Najee Harris. They want to add a complimentary back. Dallas got Williams. Again, another running back. I mean, I don't know if that blows you away, but they also made the move for Pickens. I mean, Denver. I think the one move Ingram is going to be a big time tight end threat. Devontae Adams with the Rams. And then you start to get into the, oh, by the way, Deebo Samuel to Washington. Let us not forget some of the quarterbacks that we've been talking about. Geno Smith, Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, what the hell am I thinking of? Sam Bradford. Sam Darnold. Wouldn't shock me, Sam Bradford probably somewhere would get signed. Bosa signed with the Buffalo Bills. That's a huge move. That is a huge, huge move. I'll tell you another move that I think is underrated. Azeez Ojulari, who, when he was healthy with the Giants, was a good player. But the Eagles now have pretty much the most expensive offense in NFL history for the second consecutive season. So they know that they were going to have changes on their defensive side of the ball. So you had a defensive tackle in Williams who played pretty much his way out of their budget because he had a very good season. Sweat might have been the best player on the field in the Super Bowl. Brandon Graham retired. So now they got young defenders, and you bring in a kid like Ojulari, who I think when healthy can give them some depth and can clog up the middle, can play against the run, can drop back in coverage if need be. But again, he's a player that, injuries have really hurt him over the last several years. And obviously he was dispensable because you had Thibodeau and you had Brian Burns with the Giants. So that move is eventually going to happen. But I like that move. Geno Smith. What do we think Geno Smith's going to do this season? What do we think Sam Darnold's going to do this season? What do we think Russell Wilson? You're talking about established quarterbacks in the NFL. Established quarterbacks in the NFL. Kevin chimes in again from Jackson Q. You think the Giants are prone to throw more this year? Are they going to work in the offense? Or are they going to try to be a run-first type of team? So when they were winning, and it was far and few would say Daniel Jones, it was all check down. I hope Russell Wilson, they let him kind of marinate a little bit and throw the ball down the field because they obviously have some weapons. I think Russell Wilson is a proven guy, proven quarterback. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a Hall of Famer. He's not the quarterback he once was. He's not. But I also believe he can throw the ball down the field. So to answer your question, I do think they open it up a little more. The Giants have to. They have to. Yeah, I know he's hurt again. He's getting old. Yeah, but you know what? Still, you're trying to squeeze blood out of a stone here, right? You're trying to just grab this guy for 1 or 2 minutes. You're saying, look, can I get this guy? Can I get some potential production out of him that I believe he can at least give me X amount of games, X amount of snaps at X amount of production? That's all. That's all. Because the Bills are a team. It's got to be now or never if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. It really does. It has to be now or never. And I get it. Bosa's 29. He's 30. He's kind of trailed off a little bit. I mean, he had the big season in 2021. I mean, he had a run, 10 and a half, 12 and a half, 11 and a half, 7 and a half, 10 and a half. Not a bad season in 2023. But to your point, last year, the production dropped off. Maybe he's a third down. Maybe he's a situational pass rusher, right? Kind of like the Von Millers that we saw back in the day, or the Smiths back in the day. Just not your traditional guy that's going to play every snap, every set of downs, but maybe I'm going to bring him in on certain packages. That's what I see. That's what I see. So I like what Buffalo has done, but this is a big year for Buffalo. I think this is a big year for Miami. Not a lot of people are talking about the Miami Dolphins, and you're talking about a team that gave Tua a boatload of money a couple seasons ago. And I backed that move. I came on the air and I said you had to pay him because it's what the market bared. You're going by his production when he's healthy. The problem with Tua is just keeping him healthy on the field. I mean, he is prone to concussions. It's just how it is. It's just how it is, right? I mean, Tua had a great season in 2022. Great season. 25-8, 3,500 yards, came back 2023, threw for close to 4,700 yards, close to 30 touchdowns, and then he got hurt in 2024. Isn't it ironic? They give these players, these quarterbacks, all this money, and then they get banged up. They get banged up right away. He's prone to concussions, and that scares me a little bit. But man, I'm telling you, if they just figure out a way to keep this kid upright, if they figure out a way to keep him upright, I think Miami can be a sneaky good team this year. I really do, because he gets rid of the ball fast. We know about their weapons. Granted, you look at their depth chart right now, they still have some pretty good running backs. They've got good wide receivers. They've added a little bit. They have a decent tight end. The offensive line, they play that base 3-4-D. They had games that they should have won last year. And you look at their schedule, they open up against the Colts and then New England. Those are 2 winnable games. Miami starts 2-0. They go on the road, early September test, and they get the benefit. They get Buffalo on the road in September, and then they come back and they have New York, Carolina, and Los Angeles. Miami Dolphins, they start 4-1, 5-0, 4-2, 5-2. There's a little buzz. I mean, think about that schedule right now. Indianapolis, New England, 2 wins. Buffalo's a loss. Jets, a win. Carolina, I'm going to give them a win, even though we believe Carolina's going to be better. Now you're talking they're a 4-1 team. They've got Los Angeles. Say they lose that game, 4-2. At Cleveland, that's a win. At Atlanta, that's a win. Now you're 6-2, and now you've got Baltimore and Buffalo and Washington coming up. And that's a stretch. They should win 10 games. They close out the season, Tampa, New England, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, 3 out of 4. That gets you to 9-10 right there. So I believe that's a team that is going to make some noise. I really do. All right, 18 past 5 o'clock hour. A lot of comments coming in. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. And again, question of the day, NFL teams that won the offseason. Knicks talk, a lot of comments coming in on Facebook and X. We'll continue to take those as well. We are going to take you straight up to 6 o'clock right here on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. We are powered by our good friends over at TriX57. We are also live on Facebook, my YouTube channel, and X as well. Keep it locked in. Do not go anywhere. Comments coming up on the other side. Playing this on purpose. This is Angels type music. I I just picture him right now with those sticks. Oh my goodness. All right, get in on the conversation as well. Let your voice be heard on a Tuesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones. Our question of the day: NFL teams that won the offseason. Your thoughts on the NBA Finals? Got the Stanley Cup Finals as well. The Knicks firing of Tom Thibodeau. Let's see what you guys have to say. Uh, all right. I mean, someone wants me to say hi to their sibling. Sure. Okay. Yala and Honey. Okay. That's a shout out to them. We already gave you the music. I already gave you the music, right? The musics are right there. We gave you it, we played it, and now we moved on. Uh, where you know what we need Joe and Joey B right now. I need Angel. I need him at this moment. This is utterly ridiculous. Where you're going is just another spot. It's another place. Cash or credit. It's just another. Again, it's just another. You're taking it to another level, man, and that's exactly what you do. Oh, okay. Here we go. Now we're talking. Sounds like music from the Wizards days. I mean, that was more or less, like I said, more or less. I mean, that's we're talking about off Chestnut Street, perhaps. Let me see. I'll pull this back up for a second. Is that what you guys think? This one? Yeah, don't forget your drink specials. Stop up the buffet while the wings are still somewhat warm and start to stay star to this day. Burgundy on deck. Burgundy on deck. We'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't forget to get your car. When we drive safe, don't text and drive. Try not to keep anyone, and don't forget to stop at the buffet. The food is still freshly filled up. $9.95 at a latte. And that's how you get it. That was it back in the day. That was it back in the day. That's exactly how we used to do it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Oh, here we go. Vince chiming in with his weekly or daily Jags. We all know my Jags won the off season. I think Vince needs to. It's not a Monday. It's a Tuesday. So we're not going to have him basically man up on a Manolo Lunes Mentioso man up Monday. But we will let's put Vince on the spot at 5:24 on June 3rd. How many wins? Let's walk through this schedule together. Should we, Vincenzo? Let's see here. Let me pull up the Jag schedule. I'm gonna actually ask several questions here. So the Jags open up against the Panthers at home. We'll give them a win. They go on the road against Cincy. We're giving them a loss. Then they have the Texans, the 49ers, and the Chiefs, and the Seattle Seahawks. I am going to give them 1, 2, 3, 4 losses. They're going to be 2-4 after 6 games. Is that accurate? Is that accurate? Yeah, I believe so. They won the offseason because they garnered a super fan. That's exactly it, de facto leader of the Bunker Boys. Yeah, I agree. By the way, that's a great title. That's a great title. De facto leader of the Bunker Boys. You cannot ask for a better title. And yeah, Vince, I think that's exactly it. Because everyone knows you're such a loyal listener. We know you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but somehow you have that Aqua Jags, merchandise in the back seat, hanging up in the closet. I don't know. I mean, what do you have? A Mark Brunell jersey? You got to dust that frigger off. They're going to go 2-4. They're going to go 2-4. Now that gets you the Rams, the Raiders, and the Texans. So even if they go 1-2 right there, they're 3-6. The Chargers, they're not winning that game. 3-7. On the road against Arizona, they're not winning that game. 3-8. They'll beat the Titans. They'll beat the Colts. They'll beat the Jets. Now they're 6-8. They're not beating the Denver Broncos. That's 6-9. They'll beat the Colts. They'll beat the Titans. I'm going to do you a service. I'm going to do you a solid, Vince. I'm going to do you solid. I'm going to tell you right now, because this is what I do. I prognosticate because I do it with the Knicks. I'm very good at this. So just stick with me for a minute. They will win 8 games. 8 games. That's fine. Oh, so right, because I know what you're saying now. By the rationale, you just want you say right now they're going to make the playoffs. Now we can have a conversation. Now we can have a conversation. Brunel and Jimmy Smith shocked the world, broke my best friend's heart. Hey, do you remember? You talking about, what was that, 96, right? Wasn't that the year 1996? That was Tom Coughlin. They went on. They were they 9-7 that year? What was the year? Didn't they go on the road? They Correct me if I'm wrong. They went on the road and they beat the Denver Broncos. Did they not? They lost to the Broncos in 97. They lost to the Broncos in 97. But didn't they go on the road and beat Denver? Was it 95? Was it 96? I remember that. They went on the road and they beat them 30-27, and then they lost to the Patriots, I believe, in the AFC Championship game. They were a huge. That Jacksonville team was a monster dog. I bet you if you look up, that team was probably 12 and a half, 13-point dogs. Yeah, that was 1996. 1996. That was Jimmy Smith, Mark Brunell late. And then I think Denver got on the board very, very late. McCaffrey scored. And it was 30-27. That Jacksonville team was something. They were sneaky good. They were sneaky good, that team. James Stewart, Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardle. Remember Willie Jackson, right? Brunell was a good quarterback. They might win 8 or 9 games. And you're right, that might be good enough to make the playoffs in a bad, bad division. Because the AFC South is a bad division. So by your rationale, yes, you might not need 10 or 11 wins. You might not, because it's a crappy division. Houston's the biggest test in the AFC South, right? So again, I wouldn't really bank on. Tennessee's not going to be good, and I believe the Colts are going to be in trouble. Listen, you want to look at the win totals, and you want to look at some of these teams. If you're looking to maybe be a little profitable, if you're going to bet a little bit, or if you're looking for futures, I think the Colts are going to struggle mightily this year. I have a feeling that Daniel Jones has an opportunity to push Anthony Richardson. And the reason they got Daniel Jones, listen, Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback. He's at times an average quarterback, at times a very bad quarterback, but they weren't going to run it back with Flacco. We know that. So Flacco was just a placeholder when Richardson was hurt. Richardson's prone to injuries, so is Daniel Jones. But point being is, if you look at the depth chart right now, Anthony Richardson will get the bulk of the first team reps and snaps, as he should, because he knows that offense. But I'm telling you, I believe he has a very short leash. And if that offensive line does not protect him, he's not going to last. And you will see Daniel Jones. And that's a bad recipe if you're a Colts fan, man. Because their schedule to start, they've got Miami, the Broncos, a young Titans team, a good Rams team, and then the Raiders and the Cardinals, both hit or miss. If they're 1-5 and Richardson's struggling and Jones pushed him through training camp, Daniel Jones is going to start. I know it's not saying much, but now you eliminate them from the AFC South. We already talked about eliminating the Titans. So, yeah, Jacksonville had a decent offseason. Kansas City, all the teams I mentioned in the NFC East as well. And some teams, they got better by subtraction, as crazy as it sounds. They had to get rid of certain players. They had to shed some money. They had to just move on. Some had to clean house. Some had to bring in new head coaches. Some stuck with the guys. I mean, listen, the fact that the Eagles rewarded Nick Sirianni, and the argument was made, the debate was, do you bring him back after the Tampa Bay loss? They were 10-1. The offense was skittish. Hurts struggled. He was banged up. The line was banged up. They didn't have Saquon at the time. We know that. He was still with the Giants. They go on the road. They didn't even show up against Tampa Bay. And then they struggled to start last season. They did. They struggled. And I'm wondering, would they have made a change? Would the Eagles made of change if they would have lost that game to the Saints? Because think about that for a minute. They opened up and had a sloppy win against Green Bay. They had a horrible loss against Atlanta. If they lost that game against the Saints and then they got trounced by Tampa Bay, well, let me say this. If they lost the game to the Saints, they still got trounced by Tampa Bay. The bye week was week 5. Would they have made a change? They didn't. They were 2-2. We were all panicking. You guys were panicking. You got to make a change. You got to make a change. And all they did is rip off 10 straight wins. 10 straight wins. And Washington had a nice come from behind win on the road. At home against them. That was their coming out party, right? That was Daniels' moment. I mean, the Bears game was different, but that was, hey, they've arrived now. They can beat the Eagles. And that was the only loss that the Eagles had the rest of the way. That's a hell of a run. That is a hell of a run. So they turn around and what do? They rewarded their head coach. They showed confidence in their head coach. They were telling everyone else, be patient. And they rewarded him. And he rewarded them by not only getting back to the Super Bowl, but they won the Super Bowl. So sometimes the best moves you make, you stick with what you have, status quo, or you don't trade the player. And NBA fans could attest to this. We're going back 20-something odd years. 20-something odd years. Scottie Pippen was not happy in Chicago. There was a thought that Scottie Pippen was going to get traded. It was going to be a 1-for-1 swap. Can you believe that? Back in the day, right? There was a buzz. Seattle, they wanted Scottie Pippen. They wanted Scottie Pippen. Put him with Peyton. We can get rid of the Rain Man. There was a buzz. Scottie Pippen for Sean Kemp. The Bulls never bit. The Bulls never bit. And as they say, the rest is history. The best moves you make sometimes are not even making a move and sometimes just running it back with the same type of team. Now, the Eagles, they are a different animal in a different category and a different level because when you win a Super Bowl, guys want to get paid. Guys want to get paid. When you win a Super Bowl, guys want to get paid and they decide, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to make money somewhere else. I got a ring. Maybe I want to go somewhere down south. Maybe I don't want to have to worry about income tax. Maybe I want to go to a different team. Maybe I want to go to a team that I grew up cheering for. I did everything I had to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. We won a Super Bowl. I got that ring. I'm always going to be indebted to them, but now I want to get paid. And that's the NFL. So when you win a Super Bowl and we say, hey, run it back, 95% of the time, you're not running it back with the same type of guys, especially in today's NFL. In today's NFL, it's so hard to do that because guys are getting paid. In the 70s, it was more prevalent. I mean, there's a reason that the Steelers were able to win like they did. I mean, the Steelers in the 70s, there's a reason they were a dynasty. They had historic drafts. But going to my point of not making a change, Terry Bradshaw did not get along with Chuck Noll. Terry Bradshaw requested to be traded how many times? Because Joe Gilliam was getting starts. Bradshaw was turning the ball over. The Steelers, Rooney and Noll, no, we're not trading you, man. We're not doing it. We're not going to trade you. It's not happening. It's not. And they went on and they won in 74. They won in 75. They won in 78. They won in 79. I mean, that was a dynasty. That was a dynasty. I mean, think about the players. Think about the draft selections, right? Think about it. So, and luck. Luck plays into this. The Steelers were a losing franchise. Just bad luck all around. But they hired Chuck Noll from the Colts for the 69 season. And all he does is draft Mean Joe Green, Hall of Fame, Terry Bradshaw, Mel Blount. So Green in 69, Bradshaw and Blount in 70, Jack Ham, 71, Franco Harris in 72. Oh, by the way, Stallworth and Lynn Swann and Jack Lambert and Mike Webster. And by the way, totally off the reservation with this right now. My buddies were posting the all-time 1-2 wide receiver duo in NFL history. I don't know who the hell came up with this list, but they didn't have the Marx brothers, Clayton and Duper, and they didn't have John Stallworth. and Lynn Swan. So that list is kind of credibility shot. But point being is you need to be a little lucky. You have to draft. You have to have a keen eye for talent, and that's what those teams have done, and that's why they've been the most successful. It's a different NFL right now. So when we say you're running it back, more times than not, you're not going to have the same pieces. But if you can win the offseason and strengthen your team, and I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles have done that, I believe the Buffalo Bills have done that, Washington has done that, Detroit has done that. These are the teams that are consistently going to vie for a championship year in and year out. I mean, this is who they are. This is who they are. And every other team, it's middle of the pack. You can't tell me any different. Yeah, you will get a Carolina or a Jacksonville, an Arizona. They upset the apple cart. They win a couple more games. They get into the playoffs. Denver Broncos, right? They get into the playoffs. They arrive a little early. We've seen it year in and year. The Texans are a product of a bad division, but the AFC West, Kansas City, the Chargers, Denver. I think the Raiders are going to win a couple more games. Are they going to be better than 4-13? I think they will. I think because of the quarterback. The Eagles and Washington, they're going to be 1-2 in the NFC East. Dallas and the Giants are going to stink. Then you look at the North. Are you going to get 3 teams again making the playoffs in the North? Are you going to get Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit? Well, Minnesota's banking on a kid coming off an injury. We already know what Green Bay is, and we certainly know what Detroit is. But if you polled a Lions fan, they'd be damned winning 14, 15 games. They don't care. They don't care. They want to get to a Super Bowl. And they're inching, and then boom, divisional round, they got waxed by by Washington. They didn't make it to the NFC Championship. Tampa Bay, same. Tampa to me is just like Houston in their division. They're a product of a bad division. They really are. Carolina, maybe you win 6 or 7 games. The Saints are going to be bad. Atlanta, I'm not entirely sold on at all. And then you have the West. And now you look at Seattle's quarterbacking position. Everyone thinks the other shoe's going to drop now because they don't have Geno Smith. They turn around and they have who? My guy, Sam Darnold. 49ers, are they healthy? They're getting older. They're going to make one more run with Shanahan. They just gave Purdy all the money. And then you got Arizona, who always seems to just never exceed expectations. They always, they just never really step it up. You got a veteran team in the Rams. So we know the 5, 6, 7 teams that make the right moves in the offseason. And we also know there's probably going to be 3 or 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs that are going to win a couple more games and make the playoffs this coming season. That's life in the NFL. That's why it is, even from a betting standpoint, a sports betting standpoint, when you're trying to bet on some of these games, you're always going to get that one week where teams are getting blown out. You didn't suspect. Yeah, look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They're laying a touchdown at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Why? They're defending Super Bowl champs. They're at home. It's Thursday Night Football, kick off the season. Here we go. Let's set the tone. Let's blow the doors off the Dallas Cowboys. Let's put them to bed early, 35-10. Here you go. The Eagles, are they the team to beat? That's what's going to happen. The Eagles will beat the Dallas Cowboys 35-10. Saquon will have a $150. Hurts will throw for 288. AJ Brown's going to get 5 for 112 and 2 touchdowns. And then on Friday, we're going to come on the air and say, here you go. They're built to go back to the Super Bowl winning again. Then you got the Chiefs. They're probably going to lay 2.5, 3 against the Chargers. That's a team that represented the AFC. Is that dynasty dead? Then you had the new look Cincinnati Bengals. I bet you the Bengals on the road will probably be a 5 to 6 point favorite over the Browns. I mean, we can go on and on about this all day long. The NFL has 5 to 6 really good teams, maybe 1 to 2 great teams. The rest of them, middle of the pack. The rest of them, just middle of the pack. It's all smoke and mirrors. Who's hot? Who gets in? Who can overcome adversity? Who can overcome the scheduling quirks? Who can deal with injuries at the most inopportune time? It's just this argument that I hear from people about parity, right? Parity. Hear it all the time. This team, they only won 5 games. They only won 6 games, but they're going to, quote, arrive, right? It doesn't always happen like that. It really doesn't. It just doesn't. Steve chimes in on XQ. I heard you in the first portion of your show. Are you happy that Tibbs is gone? Are you upset that Tibbs is gone? Are you kind of justifying the move that Tibbs is fired? Um, I'm never happy when a guy gets fired. I didn't have a problem that you guys are making it out to be like some with Tibbs. I thought he was a good coach, and I wasn't blown away by the hiring. And I appreciated the fact that he took the Knicks to where they got. But I'm also a realist, and I'm also an impatient Knick fan. I want to see a Knick championship before I leave this earth. And I thought this season they had the best shot to get back to the NBA Finals. That's great. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But if you've listened to me over the last month or the last couple of weeks, that game one loss was unacceptable. It was unacceptable. That's why I see, and that's why I realize, and that's why I understand the move that was made today, because they needed to get over that hurdle. So they need a different voice. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, right? I'm not, indifferent. I'm not, upset about it. I'm not happy, right? But they had to make that move. How many elite QBs? 3 to 4, 5. 3 to 4, maybe 5, right? Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Allen. You're going to put Daniels in that class. You're going to listen, where do you put Jalen Hurts? Right? I mean, that's a low blow right there, Vince. That's a low blow. I got a wish for you. I hope the Jaguars go friggin' winless. And I hope the Pittsburgh Steelers bring back Russell Wilson, even though we know that's not happening. He's going to be slinging it for the Giants. Maybe you should be punished. Maybe Lawrence goes down early, which I would never wish. Hold on, I would never wish for that. And maybe they turn around and they sign Aaron Rodgers, who's still out there. Bobby DQ, there's about 5 or 6 great quarterbacks. There's about 15 average quarterbacks, and there are about 5 or 6 or 7 bad quarterbacks. The NFL quarterbacking play, there's 5 great quarterbacks. 5. Top 10 is top 10, right? We always talk about this. It's so subjective, but we know who the great quarterbacks are. Josh Allen is a great quarterback. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. Now, am I going to put Jalen Hurts in that category? Well, if you listen to me, you win a Super Bowl, should have won 2 in 3 years, could have been an MVP. Could have been an MVP of both games. You were the MVP of one. You outperformed an all-time great in Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts, to me, at this moment, June 3rd, based on his body of work and what he's been able to do over the last season, plus he is a top 5 quarterback. Now, do you equate that to great? Right? Do you equate that to great? But, maybe you guys, I believe some of you guys want to see Hurts do it more consistently. And there's a difference. Elite is elite, man. Now we're talking 1-2. Now we're talking Allen Mahomes, right? Joe Burrow, yes, 100%. I love Joe Burrow. So there you go. Jackson, Holmes, Patrick Mahomes, Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Or did I say Allen twice? You know exactly where I'm going with this. 4 or 5. That's it. That's it. Jaden Daniels, not yet. Jaden Daniels, not yet. Jaden Daniels is trending up, but I'm concerned Jaden Daniels burst on the scene just like CJ Stroud. Just like CJ Stroud. And that's a name no one even talks about. CJ Stroud. This is a kid that can win games, won playoff games, burst on the scene. I think everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop with CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels. I really believe that. And I think they're 2 very good quarterbacks. 2 really good quarterbacks. But as you guys are, you're pointing out, it's only 3 or 4 in this league. Jared Goff is not an elite quarterback. He puts up numbers at this stage of his game. Matthew Stafford is not elite anymore. He's putting up numbers. He's getting older. Jordan Love is too inconsistent. Kyle Murray is good, but he's too inconsistent. Prescott is a veteran. He's old. He's not that guy anymore. He's just not. Williams is a young quarterback. Stroud is a young quarterback. Daniels is a young quarterback. Herbert is not elite. He's very good. Bo Nix, young, good, trending up, ascending. Lawrence, the verdict's still out on Trevor Lawrence. Sometimes he looks like he's a great quarterback. Sometimes you're like, why the hell did we pay him? It's Burrow. It's Jackson. It's Mahomes. It's Allen. And I would say it hurts right now. And Daniels, if Jaden Daniels can duplicate what he did last season, and Washington, let's just say Washington has one of these seasons where, wow, now they've really arrived, right? Because they arrived last season. They did, the Washington Commanders are not going to sneak up on anyone right now. Hell, they made it to the NFC Championship game. They were just overmatched. And after that Saquon touchdown, that game was over to start. That stadium was going nuts. They got punched in the mouth. They're too young. They didn't know how to recover. They didn't know how to get off the mat. And they learned a valuable lesson. But I believe Stroud, Daniels, Herbert, they're right there. You got to push them up a little bit. And here we go. Now we're talking top 10. But the guys I mentioned, man, that are slinging it, that are winning, that are consistently good. I know this is not a popular take, but out of all those quarterbacks that I mentioned, I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in football. I really do. I think Burrow is a just fascinating talent. I think at this point, what he was able to do last year with no defense is just remarkable. It really is. To me, I mean, if you were to ask me to rank them, and again, it's a dicey game, I go Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. Burrow is he's unbelievable, man. He is just unbelievable. And it goes past the statistics. It does. I mean, this kid's only, 25, 26? I mean, he was carrying that team. He was carrying that team. The numbers off the chart, the efficiency was off the chart. The mistake-free football was off the chart. I mean, this guy was getting hammered in games. He got sacked 7 times against Denver. He got sacked 5 times against Cleveland, sacked 5 or 6 times against Pittsburgh. He just kept getting off the mat and slinging it, man. I think he is a very good quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback in football. I really do. Texas O-line is what's going to hold back C.J. Stroud. He's not that athletic like Daniels. He can be elite in time, though, in my opinion. That's a good take. That is a really good take. I think a lot of times, too, to your point, Vince, these young quarterbacks, they have to be held upright, right? We have to keep them upright because if they're on their back, on their ass, Anthony Richardson sometimes is running for his life. Carr back in the day was running for his life. That offensive line of the Giants didn't help out Daniel Jones. You even saw at times Jalen Hurts being flushed out of the pocket, on his ass. Jordan Love on his ass. Jaden Daniels, very athletic, can improvise, can slide, can take off and run. That line, the Texans have never had. It's funny. The Houston Texans have never really had a line where you're confident where you put any quarterback back there. Even going back to the days of David Carr, they never protected him. And I'm afraid that CJ Stroud, you have to keep your quarterback upright. You have to. I can't have my quarterback being sacked 45, 50 times. I can't. And by the way, an early report's coming out that he's already dealing with soreness in his right throwing shoulder. This kid is talented, but the kid's been sacked 90 times in 2 seasons. He's not going to last. He's not. Commanders questions in secondary linebacker and running back. No, they've got it. I mean, their running back is good. I mean, they go running back by committee. The linebackers, they have to do a little better job when they're dropping back in coverage. The secondary, they've added, but a great offense can sometimes mask those deficiencies. They're going to go 4-3 base, right? So if you look at, you've got Hampton, Harris is your strong safety. I think Martin's going to be the free safety. Lattimore back there. That's the bugaboo. If we're going to pinpoint and highlight one player, yeah, it's definitely Lattimore. But it's one of the reasons they went and they got like a Bobby Prince. Their draft, I thought they did a good job with their draft. Washington, I think they had to address their needs. They went out, they got the tackle from Oregon. They got the cornerback in this, what was it, the second round from Ohio State. They added another wide receiver weapon. They went linebacker in the fifth or sixth round, the kid out of UCLA. So, and their schedule too, their schedule is favorable to start. Giants, Packers, Raiders, Falcons, Chargers, Bears. Those are all winnable games, plus Dallas. They can come out of the gate. If you look at how like Pro Football News and how they look at projections, win projections, percentages, first half of the season, they're on 65 to 73%. If you look at their first 8 games, the model is saying this team should be 6-2. 6-2. Now, I get it. There's all these X factors and extraneous variables. God forbid if Daniels gets hurt in week 1, all bets are off. But just going by those models, they're going to be able to jump out to a very good start. Um, you don't have to be the total answer at running back. You don't. You can go running back by committee in the NFL. Robinson runs very hard. I know at times because he runs hard, we're talking about fumbles. I get it, but it's also a reason that they wanted to bring in, veteran guys, right? They want to, they still have Eckler back there. I'm not going to sit there and say he's a guy that's going to get you, 1,000 yards. He's a serviceable guy. I think they're going to want to throw the ball down the field this year. I think they're really going to let Jaden Daniels open it up. Washington is going to be good. Don't discount Washington. I know everyone's thinking that they arrived and they're going to take that step back. But then the argument can be made, how do these quarterbacks progress in year number 2? I mean, we forget about that. And Washington, you're talking about if McLaren, Samuel, Brown, and Ertz gives you a little bit as a veteran, and you made the move for Tunsil, tackle, one of the most important positions in all football, as long as he's not a turnstile and he keeps Daniels upright, it's going to come down to the Eagles and Washington in the NFC East. We all know that. They're the 2 best teams. Dallas and the Giants are going to be horrible. They're going to be horrible. Dallas fan, don't even comment. I'm not even Dallas fan. Talk to me in October, November. Win a couple games. But Washington, Philly, Detroit, Green Bay, I'm just not as sold as a lot of people are on Jordan Love. I'm just not. I've seen that kid make great throws, and then I've seen that kid miss so many easy throws. I'm not talking about running to your right and throwing across your body. Detroit's going to be Detroit. I think Minnesota actually takes a step back with no Darnold. And that's a team that won 14 games. You're banking on a quarterback that's coming off a really bad injury, and they believe J.J. McCarthy's the guy. If not, and if he gets hurt, Sam Howell's their backup, and we saw what he does, what he did in Washington. So they're my 5 or so coming out of the NFC. The NFC West, I told you, Arizona could be a sleeper. I'm not going to discount San Francisco, and maybe I'm overvaluing San Francisco because of their past body of work. I thought last year was just a hiccup, a lot of inconsistent play, a lot of injuries. The Rams, Seattle, you look at the quarterbacking position. And I know what you're going to say, well, wait a second. How can you sit there and say Minnesota is going to lose a little bit because they don't have Darnold? And then you go, with Darnold in Seattle. I mean, who's their backup? Is it Milroe, right? And then Drew Lock, I think, went back there. The issue I have with Seattle is not really Sam Darnold. I just don't like the rest of the offense, if that makes sense. Cooper Kupp is older. Scantling never kind of blew me away. Walker's a really good running back. Seattle, if they're going to win some games this year, I think they have to simplify it for Darnold, and they got to figure out, how to actually close games out. I mean, they had some bad losses last year. They had some really bad losses last year. I mean, they gave up 42 points to Detroit. They lost to the Giants at home, which is unacceptable. Giants blocked the field goal and ran it back late. That was an unacceptable loss. They gave up 36 to the 49ers, which, again, you're talking about defense, 31 to Buffalo. So if Darnold reverts back to the ghost of Darnold when he was with the Jets and they score 17 to 20 and their defense can't lift them, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be in trouble. Now, they had a nice little run where they won 3 out of 4 straight to close it out, and then had a couple of bad losses here and there, early on in the season. I would not touch Seattle this year, to be honest. I just wouldn't. I think you're looking at a team that um, I think you're looking at a team that's going to be in transition, and right now Darnold is going to be that bridge. He's going to be that bridge. Washington Willie chimes in on X. Q, love the fact that you're giving some love to my commander. It was all about a change of culture, brother. Get rid of that toxicity, bring in guys that have a winning culture and a pedigree and a resume, and here we go. I don't know about your Eagles fans that tune in, but I think Washington's good for at least 11 to 12 wins. I'm not going to go that far just yet. We'll talk a little bit about that when we come up to, the win totals. NFL season's right around the corner, believe it or not. I mean, you got OTAs, training camp, then preseason. It's June. We start to go heavy in July. We're going to start breaking down the divisions. Lloyd's going to join me later in the week. Costco as well in college football. Lake Lewis, who covers Washington. I know you guys love when Lake comes on because he's very high and giddy on Washington. Got a couple Eagles beat writers that are going to be joining us throughout the season as well, and some NFL national heads. So we got a lot of NFL talk to get into tomorrow. We'll touch base a little bit on the NHL, Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals. By the way, I wanted to give you, after what I did last night, which was brutal, let me give you the Qfecta before we get out of here from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Rockies plus 160 on a money line over the Marlins. Did anyone see that game last night? Not that I would expect you guys to watch the Miami Marlins and the Colorado Rockies. I mean, if you follow baseball, you obviously know that the Colorado Rockies are a horrible baseball team. They're really bad. But did you see what happened last night in Miami? I mean, what's worse? Losing to a 50-loss team in Colorado? Or are you ready for this attendance? By the way, this is not made up. This is not AI generated. It's not AI generated. They basically had like 4,500 fans. And I know there were some reports that were suggesting it was around 1,100, but you look at it, it looked like there were only a couple hundred. Like they just don't draw. They just don't draw down there in Miami. It's not a baseball town, period. And oh, by the way, they lose the game. But I'm going to ride with them tonight at plus 150. Yanks and Guardians, we're going to play the run line over 8. And the Phillies tonight, I mean, listen, the Phillies are on the road. They're going up north of the border. They have the Blue Jays. Sanchez is on the hill. He's actually pitched well over his last several starts. So I'm going to ride with Christopher Sanchez and the Phillies today. That's minus 136. I would like to maybe grab it at 130, but I don't see that happening. So those are the Q picks. Our Qfecta from our good friends at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Don't forget the promo code BYP20. Excellent stuff with the comments on this Tuesday. 6 o'clock straight up. Don't forget the show will be on demand on TriX57 as well as my YouTube channel. We will be back in the saddle tomorrow. We will get into the NBA Finals. We will get into the Stanley Cup Finals as well. Get your thoughts on a little hockey action. Rematch of last year's Stanley Cup Finals. I think it'll be a competitive series. I have no desire to watch Thunder in Indiana. You guys know that as well. We'll kind of carry over the Nick talk and who's going to replace Thibodeau, and then a lot more NFL talk. As I mentioned, Lloyd Vance later in the week, Nick Costco, Lake Lewis, Steve Gardner, baseball writer, Hall of Fame writer for USA Today. He's going to join us either later in the week, Friday, or next week. I'm going to go over the first 50 plus games, 60 plus games in the baseball season, focus on the NL and the AL East. Also get his thoughts on Pete Rose. He is a voter when it comes to Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, the call to the Hall, if you will, in Cooperstown. So we'll get his insight not only on the passing of Pete Rose, but is he going to vote him in? That's been a hot topic as well. Don't forget, you can follow me on social media at RichQ on X, as well as IG, Facebook as well. That's just Rich Quinones YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q, and then on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. We always appreciate the comments. We always appreciate you guys hanging out for 2 hours. There will be no music to close the show. I am sorry that I'm disappointing you, but excellent job on the comments. We might even pop up the incredible Shrinker Hermano later on the week. One Angela Martinez, mi amigo, mi hermano, might be joining me on the air as well. So have a good Sports Tuesday. We'll tweet out the picks as always. Be safe, be sound, enjoy it. We're back in the saddle tomorrow on a Wednesday live from 4 to 6. Until then, I'm Rich Quinones, and we've been powered by our good friends at TriX57. And have a good Sports Tuesday. Hasta luego, buen día.